Okay, just a disclaimer, please bear with my awkwardness because I don't know how to be in front of a camera at all.
Are you recording now?
Yeah, I'm usually the one behind it. So get ready for a lot of rambling, stuttering, and jumbled up words because when I get nervous, I tend to eat my words. So yeah, let's get started. Hi, my name is Elisha and welcome to the first episode of Elisha B. Today we're going to be talking about graphic design and religion.
So just an outline of today's lesson, I'm going to first define what graphic design is and how graphic design can be seen in religion. Next, I'm going to move on to the early civilizations, sorry, I suck at voiceovers, such as the Mesopotamians and the Arams, and how they use graphic design in their own religions. Next, just a brief summary of how the Asians incorporated graphic design in religion, focusing mainly on China. And I'm going to be talking about a very important part, well, what I think is a very important part of graphic design and religion, the illuminated manuscripts. Then I'll move on to Johannes Gutenberg's printing press, and I'm going to further sum up the entire video by stating the importance of typography to graphic design and ending it with how graphic design is very crucial to religion.
To start off, what exactly is graphic design? Well, it is art with a purpose. By using images, symbols, and words, it is able to create a systematic plan to solve a problem or achieve certain objectives creatively. It is a tool of visual communication and aesthetic expression of concepts and ideas using various graphic elements and tools. It is actually present in all facets of our lives. Like when we come to think of it, we see it in magazines and companies and, of course, religion, which is what we will be focusing on today. When we take a look at any religious book, scripture, or structure, they are almost never plain. I feel like I can expound on this more on a Catholic's point of view since I am one. The missalettes that are being handed out in Mass, they're not plain. Like, they have some sort of graphic design in it. In the front page, you'll either see, well, of course, no, you will see the logo of the church and often a drawing of the gospel of that day. And I guess you could say that that in itself is graphic design. And take note that these are just like handouts that are being handed out in Mass to guide the churchgoers with the psalms, the responses, the songs, and the gospel for that Sunday. Even upon entering the Catholic Church, you notice how grand and intricate the design of the structure could be. Take for example the church that I go to. They're big stained glass artworks by the altar. The one on the left is an image of the Pentecost, and the one on the right is an image of Jesus' baptism. I feel like stained glasses seem to be a really big part of Catholic churches. Well, I don't know about any other religion, but I've noticed that it's a constant thing among all Catholic churches. For me personally, I really like it because at certain times of the day, the sun shines through it perfectly and I feel like it illuminates the entire piece, making it more attractive. Anyways, the fact that it's done in stained glass elevates the way churchgoers will look at it. Imagine if this was just a plain black and white image drawn on like a piece of paper. Like, wouldn't that be dull? The creativity of it helps move someone spiritually. It enhances it. It doesn't make them bored while they praise or worship. The use of graphic design in religion isn't new. People back in the Mesopotamian civilization were already using graphic design in religion and didn't even know about it. Religion pretty much dominated life in Mesopotamia.
The Mesopotamians had ziggurats. It is one of the oldest ancient religious structures and its exact purpose is unknown. But it was most likely conceived as a home for the local gods, and only priests were allowed in the ziggurat.
There was an increasing need for record keeping, and I consider their pictographic way of writing to be graphic design in its most simple element. Fast forward a little bit more into history, the same goes for the Arabs, although with them, graphic design already evolved with their use of calligraphy. Their use of calligraphy can be seen in their holy book called the Quran, or however you pronounce it. And because of that, calligraphy became a form of high art to the Islamic culture. Similar to the Arabs, the Chinese too make use of calligraphy. It is an ancient writing system that is still being used up to this day, and even by more people than any other visual language system. The characters are generally logograms or graphic signs that represent an entire word. Along with their use of calligraphy is the discovery of printing. The Chinese created religious images and texts that received wide distribution. And with that being said, Graphic design had not only evolved to text alone, but to images as well. The Diamond Sutra is an example of a Chinese sacred book made out of carved wooden blocks. As you can see, they incorporated images alongside the text to make it more visually appealing. After all, who doesn't like looking at the book with pictures? It's what we're used to. It's what we looked at as we were kids. It's basically the same case for the Japanese since they adapted the Chinese way of writing thanks to the spread of Buddhism in their country. Moving on, we have the illuminated manuscripts, which is actually really significant in the history of graphic design in the context of religion. These manuscripts are very decorative with the use of gold or silver borders around the paper, hence the term illuminated, a feature that they're really popular for. Other features of an illuminated manuscript include drop caps wherein the start of a paragraph is a really big letter, and miniature illustrations. An example of this would be the Vatican Virgil, which is the earliest surviving manuscript. Another example of this would be the Book of Durrow. This manuscript adapted Celtic designs because St. Patrick, along with other missionaries, began to rapidly convert Celts to Christianity. Graphic design isn't limited to a certain social class. It's not elitist, and it can be accessed by people from all walks of life. A Biblia Pauperum, or a poor man's Bible, is a poor man's counterpart of an illuminated manuscript. It was cheaper to produce and it contained visualizations of the Old and New Testaments of the Christian Bible. The use of visual embellishments to expand the sacred word became very important, and these illuminated manuscripts were designed with extraordinary care and design sensitivity. The creation of this can be very tedious, very costly, and very time-consuming. For example, the parchment or vellum paper used to create illuminated manuscripts took hours to produce.
Can't be hurt.
No, it's okay. And not to mention that the paper used in these illuminated manuscripts are made out of sheepskin. I mean, to make a large book itself, it would take about 300 sheepskins. So that's a lot of sheep you'd need to kill just to make a book.
With skins of sheep, goats, or calves. Skins were soaked in lime water for 3 to 10 days to loosen the animal's hair. The parchment maker then scraped away the hair and any remaining flesh. After this, the skin was soaked in fresh water to remove the lime and then stretched tightly on a frame. A special rounded knife was used to scrape the hide to the desired thickness. The process of scraping continued over the course of several days.
In my opinion, I feel like the illuminated manuscripts became the inspiration for most of the religious books and scriptures we see nowadays. So not exactly everything is illuminated, but the features of an illuminated manuscript are still there, like the fancy borders, the drop caps, and even the miniature illustrations. Graphic design in religion further heightened when Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. The printing press made it possible for the production of books such as Bibles, making it more accessible for people. The Nuremberg Chronicle, for example, is printed with a printing press. It is a volume of world history that started with the creation of the Bible and ended in 1493, the year it was printed. I'd like to say that at the time people were of taste. I say that because it took different people to create the wood blocks, the illustrations, even the typefaces. Fonts such as Rotunda and Swabasher were used for the body text, while headings and initials appeared in a Lombardic font. At least at the time, they had a sense of typography and they knew what font should be used for the header and what font should be used for the body text. Speaking of typography, we can now say that typography does play a big part in graphic design. Because of type, we are able to recognize what religion certain books and scriptures are made for. This is usually because typography plays a really big part in the identity of a religion. Like, for example, we know when something's written for the Islamic culture because of the really wide calligraphy text being used, or we can tell when a scripture is used for the Chinese religion because of the Chinese calligraphy being used. The characters of Chinese calligraphy are very easy to distinguish from one another because of the brush tip that's being used when they're written. So this brush tip gives each character its own different weights. And of course, scriptures written in sans serifs are often associated with Christianity since these were written in the Roman or Latin alphabets, which did have sans serifs. I mean, I don't think you can see a Bible now that was just written in plain serif. Come to think of it, each religion has their own symbol that kind of acts as their logo. Like Christians are represented by the cross, Muslims are represented by the star and the crescent, and Buddhists are represented by the Dharma wheel or this, which I don't really know what it's called. Oh my god, am I making sense, Aiko?
Yeah, but where were you going and what's the point?
I don't know. Anyway, I'll just read it here. The ordinary person may not realize the importance of graphic design in religion, but imagine if we didn't have it. Like, what pictures would we be putting in our heads in times of worship? How would we know what Christmas looks like? How would we know what other religious holidays look like Ramadan and Hanukkah, you know? So it's really stuff like that that make graphic design crucial to religion.
So that's it for today's episode
Of Elisha B. Yay!